When it comes to wisdom, there's a certain elegance in understanding what not to do, particularly when dealing with the complexities of relationships. A wise man knows that maintaining integrity and respect with every woman he encounters is key to a life of honor and balance. He doesn't take any situation lightly or overlook the subtle impact of his actions. This careful approach is not about restricting oneself. It's about being intentional, mindful, and consistently respectful. Wise men approach relationships with the humility and self-discipline to make choices that avoid unnecessary pain, confusion, or miscommunication. Firstly, a wise man never lies to a woman, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant the lie may seem. Lies breed distrust, and even a small mistruth can erode the foundation of a relationship over time. Truthfulness not only fosters respect, but it also solidifies the character of the man himself. To speak the truth, regardless of the outcome, is a hallmark of strength. A wise man values honesty, not as a tactic, but as a virtue. And he understands that transparency is the only real way to build genuine trust. Similarly, he avoids making promises he cannot keep. Promises are not trivial words to him, but commitments that hold weight. To promise something without the intention or ability to deliver cheapens his word and can leave a woman with a sense of betrayal. Wise men understand that a person's word is sacred, and so they are cautious and thoughtful with the promises they make, ensuring they're both realistic and sincere. A wise man also refrains from using flattery or empty compliments as a way to gain favor. He knows that genuine admiration is valuable, but superficial praise is manipulative. Rather than telling a woman what he thinks she wants to hear, he values authenticity. Compliments, when given, come from a place of true appreciation, not a desire to impress or influence her perception. A wise man knows that words hold power and chooses to use them responsibly. And avoiding needless drama is another principle that wise men live by. They steer clear of unnecessary arguments, and they don't fuel situations with gossip, jealousy, or rivalry. This isn't to say they avoid conflict entirely. When necessary, a wise man will confront issues directly. However, he is selective about which battles to fight. Instead of seeking conflict or becoming entangled in emotional games, he approaches each situation with a calm and balanced demeanor. His interactions are marked by a sense of peace, and he strives to be a source of stability rather than chaos. Furthermore, wise men don't manipulate or control. They understand that each person has a will of their own, and that relationships are about mutual respect, not dominance. Rather than trying to mold a woman to his expectations, he accepts her as she is, with her own thoughts, feelings, and aspirations. This understanding creates space for growth and genuine connection, rather than a relationship built on control. He avoids pushing her into situations or behaviors that serve only his interests, and instead focuses on fostering a relationship grounded in mutual freedom. A wise man also knows the importance of respecting a woman's boundaries, whether physical, emotional, or intellectual. He listens attentively and observes her comfort levels, never pressuring her into anything she's uncomfortable with. Respecting boundaries isn't simply an act of politeness, it's a reflection of deep empathy and self-restraint. Wise men recognize that true connection can only grow in an environment of respect and security. This respect for boundaries helps establish a foundation of trust and mutual understanding that stands the test of time. Another trait of the wise is avoiding possessiveness. A wise man knows that every person is free and that no relationship justifies a sense of ownership over another's life or choices. He understands that trust and independence go hand in hand. Jealousy and control only stifle a relationship, while freedom allows it to flourish. He respects her individuality and her right to make her own choices, recognizing that a strong bond is built on respect rather than control. Moreover, wise men do not diminish or belittle a woman's ambitions. They don't see her goals as threats to their own. Instead, they value a relationship where each person can pursue their own path and support one another along the way. A wise man admires a woman's strength and determination, recognizing that her achievements are not a competition, but a shared triumph. This respect for her dreams and ambitions is essential to a relationship built on equality and mutual support. Wise men avoid holding on to past grievances or unresolved resentment. They understand that forgiveness is a choice that frees the heart, while grudges weigh it down. If conflicts arise, they aim to address and resolve them rather than letting them fester. Rather than clinging to mistakes or misunderstandings, they focus on moving forward with a clear mind and open heart. They realize that relationships, like all things, require growth and adaptability, and they let go of negativity for the sake of a healthier connection. A wise man refrains from overstepping personal boundaries by offering unsolicited advice or trying to fix a woman's problems unless she explicitly seeks his input. This doesn't mean he's indifferent to her struggles. Rather, he trusts her capability to handle her own life. He knows that sometimes what a person truly needs is a listening ear rather than a solution. By being there as a supportive presence without imposing his perspective, he shows respect for her autonomy and resilience. A wise man avoids making assumptions about a woman's thoughts, intentions, or feelings. He understands that each person is a complex individual with a unique perspective. Rather than jumping to conclusions, he seeks to understand by asking questions and listening carefully. This openness and willingness to communicate fosters an atmosphere of mutual respect, where both individuals feel seen, heard, and valued. In this way, he builds a relationship that is rooted in clarity, compassion, and understanding. Wise men also avoid expecting emotional labor without reciprocation. They realize that any relationship requires mutual support, whether emotional, mental, or physical, rather than seeing the woman as a constant source of emotional comfort or guidance. They give back with the same energy and care. This reciprocity isn't about keeping score. It's about valuing the balance between giving and receiving. A wise man shows empathy for her struggles and makes himself a steady, supportive presence in her life, never placing the burden of his own emotional well-being solely on her shoulders. He understands that a true bond is built by two individuals who both contribute to one another's growth and happiness. Another thing wise men avoid is projecting their own insecurities onto a woman. A wise man works on his own inner stability and self-worth, recognizing that relationships are not there to fill voids or mask his insecurities. When personal fears or doubts arise, he addresses them within himself rather than allowing them to affect his interactions. He avoids jealousy, overthinking, or blaming, knowing that these behaviors can poison a connection over time. Instead, he cultivates self-awareness and actively works on his self-esteem, so he approaches each relationship from a place of inner strength and maturity. Wise men know to avoid taking a woman for granted. They understand that appreciation is not something to show only on occasion, but something to weave into the fabric of daily life. He consciously notices and values her contributions, kindness, and presence. He realizes that a sincere thank you or a small gesture of appreciation can go a long way in maintaining a meaningful bond. By showing gratitude and respect consistently, he strengthens the relationship and prevents any sense of complacency from setting in. Additionally, a wise man doesn't lose his own identity within a relationship. He doesn't sacrifice his values, passions, or personal growth just to maintain harmony. Instead, he balances his individuality with his commitment to the relationship, understanding that a healthy relationship allows both people to grow. A wise man respects himself enough to set boundaries around his own time and needs, making sure he doesn't become overly dependent or enmeshed. He realizes that a thriving relationship is one where both people are encouraged to be the fullest versions of themselves. Wise men avoid judging a woman's past. They recognize that everyone has their own journey, and past choices or experiences are part of what shaped her into who she is today. Rather than casting judgment or letting her past cloud his perception, he accepts her fully as she is in the present. This non-judgmental attitude creates an atmosphere of trust and openness where she feels free to be vulnerable and authentic without fear of criticism. The wise man realizes that to judge someone's past is often to misunderstand their growth and transformation. Moreover, wise men avoid rushing or pressuring a relationship to progress faster than it naturally should. They understand that deep connections take time to build and that every relationship has its own pace. Instead of pushing for labels or milestones prematurely, they allow things to evolve organically. Patience is a mark of wisdom, and a wise man respects the natural flow of a relationship, avoiding the anxiety or insecurity that can arise from trying to force a commitment or change too quickly. By taking things one step at a time, he ensures that each stage of the relationship is fully appreciated and that trust develops gradually and deeply. Wise men also don't belittle or invalidate a woman's emotions. They understand that every feeling, whether it appears logical to them or not, deserves compassion and acknowledgement. Rather than dismissing her feelings or saying things like, "You're overreacting," they listen with empathy. They realize that dismissing or invalidating emotions only creates distance, whereas showing understanding strengthens the bond. He knows that by creating a space where she feels heard and respected, he cultivates a relationship that's rich in mutual understanding. Another thing wise men avoid is competing with or comparing themselves to a woman. They don't see relationships as a battle of achievements or status. Instead, they celebrate her successes as shared victories and find fulfillment in her happiness. In moments where she achieves something remarkable, a wise man expresses genuine pride and admiration without any need to prove his own worth in comparison. His self-worth is rooted within himself, not in a need to win or be better, which means he approaches relationships with a calm confidence and security. Wise men never make a woman feel like she's alone in the relationship. They understand the importance of showing up, both in presence and in spirit. They're dependable, communicative, and consistent, making sure she knows she can rely on them. Wise men prioritize being there not just physically but emotionally, knowing that true connection requires more than just words or promises. Their actions reflect their commitment, and they avoid making her feel like she's shouldering the responsibility for keeping the relationship alive. In every choice, wise men maintain a perspective of respect, balance, and sincerity. They strive to act with thoughtfulness and integrity, understanding that in a relationship, what they avoid doing is often as meaningful as what they choose to do. By being mindful, disciplined, and grounded, they build relationships that are fulfilling, peaceful, and lasting. Wise men also steer clear of criticism, masked as constructive feedback when it isn't asked for or isn't genuinely supportive. They understand the difference between constructive suggestions and unsolicited criticism that might make a woman feel inadequate or unappreciated. When a wise man offers feedback, it's always with a tone of encouragement, not judgment. He doesn't seek to change her, but to support her growth, only offering his insights when they're genuinely welcome. This careful approach fosters an atmosphere where she feels respected and valued for who she is, rather than feeling pressured to meet someone else's standards. A wise man avoids comparing her to others, especially in a way that highlights perceived flaws or inadequacies. He understands that each individual is unique with their own strengths, weaknesses, and quirks. Comparisons only breed insecurity and resentment, whereas acceptance and appreciation build trust and a genuine connection. By focusing on her unique qualities rather than measuring her against others, a wise man creates a relationship that is free from unnecessary competition or doubt. Wise men know better than to neglect quality time together. They avoid becoming so preoccupied with work, hobbies, or personal pursuits that they fail to nurture the relationship. While they value their independence, they also prioritize the connection they share, recognizing that relationships require time and attention to flourish. A wise man makes an effort to be present, engaging in meaningful moments together, whether that means going on adventures, sharing new experiences, or simply enjoying quiet, focused conversations. He avoids letting life's busyness erode the bond, knowing that true connection requires deliberate investment. Furthermore, wise men don't use silence or withdrawal as a means of punishing or controlling a woman. They understand that open communication is vital, and rather than shutting down or giving the silent treatment, they address concerns in a mature, respectful way. The silent treatment only creates distance and confusion, while constructive conversation brings clarity and resolution. Wise men choose to engage in dialogue, even when it's difficult, as a way to respect the relationship and show a willingness to work through challenges together. Wise men avoid holding unrealistic expectations that could put pressure on the relationship. They understand that perfection doesn't exist, and they accept that each person will have flaws, quirks, and moments of vulnerability. Instead of demanding an idealized version of a partner, they embrace her as she is, with all her strengths and imperfections. By maintaining realistic expectations, a wise man fosters a relationship that feels safe, supportive, and grounded in mutual acceptance rather than impossible standards. Another thing wise men avoid is neglecting their own self-care, which ultimately affects the relationship. They recognize that if they're not balanced and healthy in their own lives, they won't be able to fully support and nurture a connection with someone else. Self-care isn't just about physical well-being, but about mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. Wise men take time to reflect, recharge, and grow, ensuring that they bring their best selves to the relationship. They know that by taking care of themselves, they're also contributing to a healthier, more resilient bond. Wise men don't let pride stand in the way of apologizing or admitting when they're wrong. They understand that humility is essential to any lasting connection. When they make a mistake, they take accountability, openly acknowledging their fault without excuses or justifications. Apologizing sincerely and with genuine intent is a mark of maturity, and wise men know that owning up to their actions builds trust and respect. They don't view an apology as a loss of pride, but as a step toward strengthening the relationship. Another thing wise men avoid is neglecting the emotional depth of the relationship by keeping things on a purely surface level. They recognize the importance of vulnerability and emotional openness in creating a truly meaningful bond. Rather than hiding behind a facade of stoicism or invulnerability, they share their true selves with their partner, knowing that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. They listen with empathy and are unafraid to express their own emotions, building a relationship that's rich in understanding and authenticity. Wise men don't take a woman's kindness or generosity for granted. They appreciate the small gestures, the thoughtfulness, and the effort she puts into the relationship. Rather than expecting or feeling entitled to her kindness, they recognize it as a gift and make sure to show gratitude in return. They reciprocate with equal thoughtfulness and generosity, ensuring that the relationship is a balanced exchange of care and support. Wise men also avoid becoming complacent in romance and effort. They understand that relationships require ongoing energy, And they don't assume that once a bond is established, it no longer needs nurturing. They continue to make an effort, to show affection and to keep the relationship lively and engaging. Whether it's planning a special evening, surprising her with a heartfelt gesture, or simply taking the time to listen deeply, wise men keep romance alive by actively investing in the relationship, even when life becomes routine or challenging. Wise men avoid creating or tolerating an environment where either partner feels unvalued. They're intentional about validating and recognizing her feelings, thoughts, and contributions. This validation doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says, but it does mean showing respect and openness to her perspective. They avoid shutting her down, interrupting, or dismissing her ideas. By consistently making her feel heard and valued, wise men build a relationship that feels supportive and empowering for both individuals. Additionally, wise men avoid using financial or social status as a way to dominate or control the dynamic of a relationship. They understand that love and respect aren't built on material wealth or societal standing. Instead, they see themselves as equal partners, sharing both the responsibilities and privileges of the relationship. Wise men do not seek to control through resources, but instead focus on creating a balanced, respectful partnership where both individuals feel equally valued, regardless of their social or financial standing. Finally, wise men avoid ignoring or trivializing the spiritual dimension of a relationship. They recognize that beyond physical and emotional connection, there's often a deeper spiritual bond that unites two people. They honor this aspect by being mindful of each other's beliefs, values, and aspirations. Wise men encourage one another's spiritual growth and are respectful of practices or beliefs that may be significant to the other person. By nurturing this dimension, they cultivate a relationship that resonates on multiple levels, enriching both their lives in profound ways. In all these ways, wise men approach relationships with a spirit of respect, integrity, and understanding. They know that avoiding harmful behaviors is as critical as cultivating positive ones, creating a partnership where both individuals feel valued, respected, and genuinely seen. Their actions speak of maturity, empathy, and a deep commitment to nurturing a relationship that uplifts rather than hinders, that enriches rather than restricts. Wise men also avoid letting past traumas or unresolved issues from previous relationships cloud their current relationship. They understand that everyone comes with their own history, but they strive to address and process past pain rather than allowing it to taint the present. Wise men take responsibility for their own healing, knowing that unaddressed issues can lead to unfair projections and unwarranted expectations. They commit to entering a new relationship with a clear mind and an open heart, choosing not to burden their partner with unhealed wounds that don't belong in the present. Wise men refrain from putting a woman on a pedestal, avoiding both idealization and unrealistic expectations. They know that seeing someone as perfect can be as damaging as seeing only flaws, as it sets up a dynamic that's bound to fail when reality inevitably surfaces. By appreciating a woman as a real, multifaceted individual, they allow for a relationship that's grounded in reality rather than romanticized ideals. They respect her humanness, understanding that admiration is best shown through acceptance and empathy rather than unrealistic worship. They avoid superficiality in their intentions and interactions. Wise men are not interested in playing games or fostering shallow connections based on appearances or temporary attractions. Instead, they look for depth and substance, aiming to cultivate bonds that are meaningful and enduring. They engage with a woman on a level that goes beyond appearances or immediate gratification, seeking instead the shared values, conversations, and experiences that create genuine intimacy and trust. This depth-oriented approach ensures that they're building something lasting, something that goes beyond surface-level attraction or fleeting interests. Wise men avoid placing undue emphasis on external validation in the relationship, whether that's through social media displays, public approval, or societal expectations. They're not interested in creating a perfect image of the relationship for others. Instead, they focus on the authentic connection shared in private. They understand that the strength of a relationship lies not in how it's perceived by others, but in the honesty, support, and joy it brings to each person involved. Rather than seeking affirmation from outside, they prioritize the inner satisfaction that comes from a well-grounded, meaningful relationship. A wise man does not try to fix a woman's insecurities. He understands that personal growth is a journey each person must navigate for themselves. While he's there to offer support, encouragement, and understanding, he avoids the savior mentality, respecting her autonomy to work through her own challenges. Wise men recognize that true partnership means being a source of strength and stability, but not taking over the responsibility of personal healing or growth. This perspective allows the relationship to flourish as each person can grow individually while still being nurtured within the partnership. Wise men avoid taking emotional shortcuts by using distraction, escapism, or avoidance to handle difficulties in the relationship. They don't rely on temporary fixes like indulgence, ignoring issues, or fleeing into work or hobbies when problems arise. Instead, they confront issues directly and thoughtfully, knowing that facing discomfort is essential for growth. By choosing courage over convenience, they build a relationship that's resilient and rooted in a willingness to tackle challenges together. This approach brings depth and strengthens trust, as both people know they're committed to facing whatever comes their way with maturity. Wise men don't allow their own insecurities to breed possessiveness or jealousy. Instead of seeing other people or situations as threats, they focus on fostering a relationship that's so deeply grounded in trust and respect that neither partner feels a need to question the other's loyalty. They recognize that jealousy is often a reflection of their own fears, and rather than projecting these onto the relationship, they work on their own sense of self-worth and security. By focusing on creating an atmosphere of openness and trust, they allow both partners to feel free and respected, knowing that loyalty comes naturally when a relationship is built on such solid foundations. They avoid focusing too heavily on their own needs while neglecting the needs of their partner. Wise men practice empathy and strive to understand what brings their partner happiness and fulfillment. They're attentive to her dreams, her challenges, and her goals, taking the time to be genuinely supportive. Rather than prioritizing their own desires at the expense of hers, they create a balance where each person feels seen and supported. This mutual care and attention are the building blocks of a fulfilling, balanced relationship where neither person feels left behind or overshadowed. Wise men refrain from over-analyzing or nitpicking the relationship. They avoid becoming consumed with what-ifs or constantly questioning minor details that only serve to create doubt and unease. Instead, they approach the relationship with a calm acceptance of its natural flow, embracing imperfections and letting go of the need to control every outcome. They understand that constant scrutiny can lead to unnecessary strain, and instead, they focus on enjoying the present, allowing the relationship to unfold organically. This acceptance allows both individuals to relax and truly enjoy one another's company without the weight of unrealistic scrutiny. Wise men avoid letting ego dictate their actions. They understand that relationships aren't a battlefield where one needs to prove superiority. Rather than asserting dominance or insisting on being right, they approach conflicts with humility, recognizing that compromise and understanding are more valuable than winning. They don't let pride prevent them from seeing things from their partner's perspective or from showing vulnerability. By putting aside ego, they open the door to genuine connection, fostering an atmosphere where both people feel heard and respected. Finally, wise men avoid becoming complacent in the relationship. They understand that love, like any meaningful endeavor, requires effort, mindfulness, and continued growth. They don't take the relationship for granted or assume it will remain strong without continued dedication. Instead, they invest time in nurturing the connection, finding ways to keep it alive, fresh, and fulfilling. Whether that's through small acts of kindness, thoughtful gestures, or regular, meaningful conversations, they are committed to keeping the relationship vibrant. By avoiding complacency, wise men show that they value the relationship deeply and are willing to put in the effort to make it last. In each of these ways, wise men embody respect, integrity, and mindfulness in every interaction with a woman. They recognize that relationships are a sacred bond, built on the foundation of intentional choices, compassion, and genuine care. By mindfully avoiding behaviors that harm or diminish this bond, they create connections that are rich, fulfilling, and anchored in trust and understanding. Through these actions, they reflect a wisdom that's rooted not just in knowledge, but in the lived experience of what it means to truly honor another person. In navigating relationships with respect, integrity, and intentionality, wise men embody the qualities that create deep and lasting connections. By avoiding behaviors that breed mistrust, insecurity, or resentment, they foster bonds rooted in mutual respect and genuine care. Relationships, after all, are not just about what we do, but also about what we consciously choose not to do. Wise men understand that by being mindful, empathetic, and self-aware, they not only honor their partners, but also uplift themselves. This approach leads to a relationship that thrives on trust, balance, and a shared sense of purpose. If you found these insights valuable, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe for more content on living with wisdom and purpose. Let's spread the message of thoughtful, intentional relationships for a more connected and harmonious world.